Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I am your host, Candy Barone, and let me tell you, I am over the moon right now because I finally have an amazing powerhouse who I have been trying to get on this show, and my fault, due to my schedule and travel, it has taken us a while to get her here. So super excited that I have an amazing rock star powerhouse to join me in the ring today. Before I tell you more about her, let me just say welcome and hello to my friend, Aime Hutton. Welcome. So glad. So glad to have you here. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, this is our space to really talk about leadership and what leadership means in today's environment, which, as you know, means we can go all over the place in terms of rich and juicy and meaty conversation. So there is nothing off limits, and we like to get really deep. With that, we know that ultimately leadership is a choice. It is a function of how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. So again, super excited to have y'all here and super excited to have my amazing guest, the fabulous Aime Hutton. Let me tell you a little about her before we get into our conversation. Aime is a true miracle survivor. Being born 3 months early was just the start of the challenges Aime had to overcome in her lifetime. Hailing from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, as a girls empowerment leader, Aime empowers tween and teen girls to live their real, brave selves, full of happiness, courage, and confidence. She does this through training women to be girls empowerment facilitators. Oh, I love that. A powerful program Aime developed over her 15 plus years working with girls in a variety of modalities and her own personal development work that she has done. As a 5-time international best-selling author, compiler, Aime shares hope, healing, and inspiration through her writing. She was a finalist for the International FemTour Awards 2015 for eWomen Network in the category of Business Matchmaker from Dallas, Texas, here in the United States, being one of 6 in North America and the only Canadian. In 2017, Aime was awarded the Peace and Friendship Award by Diversity Magazine in Alberta for being one who celebrates, accepts, and learns from indigenous people of Canada. Wow. I mean, just like I said, she is just a rock star. She is amazing. And what I really love about what I love about what you do, Aime, is this work to empower young girls. Talk about how you started down that path and a little bit more about what you do in that space.
For sure. And thank you, Candy, again for the opportunity. And yes, flexibility and team timing, and it all worked out perfectly. It's awesome. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. So why do I do what I do? Well, the big why is I want no girl to experience what I did for 6 years in elementary school. So there's a statistic out there that says every 7 minutes, a child is being bullied on the school ground across Canada. And that's the ones we know about.
Right.
Now, you and I, growing up when we were younger, we didn't call it bullying, did we?
No.
We called it being teased, being picked on, just part of everyday life of going to school. And, going to school always has that 1 day, 2 day first nerve jitters. Like, who am I going to see? Who am I going to meet? And it normally balances itself out. I was great for grade 1, 2, and 3. But then in grade 3, my teacher noticed that I was having lots of problems with my studies, my comprehension, my spelling, grammar, and math. And they met with the other teachers and my parents and said, we want to hold Aime back in grade 3. We want to fail her. And we want to put her into special education, or what at that point was called, it was a segregated room for kids with disabilities. And we want her to just be there and do her school there. My parents were like, no, yes, hold her back, yet give her help, pull her out of class to give her extra support, yet don't fully segregate her, which was a blessing and a curse at the same time, because that nervousness escalated and was daily between my second year of grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8. So 6 years every day of the school year, I had that nervousness that I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in school. I'm scared to go to school. Why? Because I was getting called names relentlessly. The 5 words that still stick in my head sometimes even today are loser, stupid, dumb, retarded, and ugly. Those were the words and more that I was called routinely. And it got worse. In grade 7, I was in a grade 7-8 split. And it was gym time. And we were in the locker room getting changed. And I felt someone come up behind me, grab me by my bra strap, and flung me around the room. And I went flying into a locker. I didn't know who did it. I was battered and bruised and crying. And when the teacher came in, I couldn't say a word because I didn't know who did it. So from that point on, I was even more fearful to go to school. I didn't want to go. And I asked, Mom, can I change schools? Can I, whatever? And she's like, no, you're strong. You can get through this. And I did. In grade 8, when I was asked, one of the things I excelled at, 2 things, was swimming. And I was also in Girl Guides, or Girl Scouts for you guys in the States. And I must have been having a class that night because I was all giddy and happy. And I'm like, oh, I got bronze medallion tonight, or bronze cross, which are one of the first 2 courses a young person has to do when they want to be a lifeguard. That's the starting, ladder, we'll call it, to get to that lifeguard status. And I was really excited. And a boy yelled over and he's like, Amy, are you in tadpoles? And I'm like, no, I'm going to be a lifeguard. That's what I'm going to do. And he laughed. He's like, oh, let's go when you're a lifeguard. Let's go bug you and get you all upset and angry. And I'm like, no, you actually need to listen to me when I am a lifeguard. And the kids thought I couldn't do it. And then with being in Girl Guides, there's a day where girls wear their uniform to school proudly to say, look, I'm a Girl Guide or a Girl Scout and whatnot. Well, I was laughed at huge. And I remember finally losing my crap and yelling at these kids in the hallway going, at least I have somewhere to go after school. I have places to be and people to be around. And they laughed more and I cried more. But there's, 3 things that kept me going, and it's 3 things that I still do today. And it's partly why I do what I do. And it's that, I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and I had to keep going. I chose to keep going because if I didn't, I was going to go down that dark hole. And Girl Guides actually in Pathfinders, the age 12 to 15 bracket really helped me. I can't thank them enough. If I wasn't going to Pathfinders, I probably would have been going down the dark hole into the pit of despair and depression and craziness. And I had others believe in me. I had my Pathfinder leader. The teachers were doing their best they could. And they said, yeah, we know you can be a lifeguard. We know you can get through. And the third thing I had to do, Candy, was I had to let others help me. And I had to be okay with having others help me. So that's my story on why I do what I do, is because I know that pain. I know that pain also that parents feel or caring adults have of what can I do to help this young girl in my class or this girl in my Girl Guide unit or my, a church or a synagogue or, wherever the religious space you may be. And so many parents I've spoken with, they're like, where were you when I was in grade 4? And I was like, this is where I was. And they're like, oh my God, I need to learn how to help my daughter or the girl in my life.
Well, first of all, Amy, I just have to say thank you for the vulnerability in what you just shared. I think, and I can even feel some of the triggers and some of the things showing up, because you're right. We didn't call that bullying. When we called it being teased, we called it being picked on, we called it, suck it up. You just got to be strong. And there's a lot of that space of we're supposed to accept that behavior. We're supposed to allow other people to diminish our light, allow them to qualify or dequalify our worth. And so love that you, are so vulnerable and open about sharing your story. I think more people need to talk about their story. And I like that you are very clear about what 3 things really were your anchors to move through that. Because one of the things I feel like sometimes when people share their story is they share their story, but there's none of the responsibility side on the other side of that. And so I'm curious for you, that 6 years is a long time. It's a long time to be in that kind of that space. What was the turning point for you? What was the real space where you were like, I'm not in here? When did things turn so that it was a 6 years and then you were able to move on and then you started to do this work?
Yeah. So I'm very grateful that the school I went to was a small feeder school into a high school, and the bullying actually stopped in grade 9. Because I was in a really big school. And, I got involved in the swim team and the band and, made new friends and so on and so forth. And the other part of my story that is more further on in my life was my abusive relationship I went through in university. Abuse comes in many forms. My boyfriend never hit me or, threw me across the room, but he did choke me, and he mind controlled, emotional control abuse. So with all these things I went through, I was like, there's gotta be other women out there that have been through things I've been through that want to help the next generation to manage through it, to get through it, to even have it not happen. Like my mission having 1 million girls live their real brave self with confidence, courage, and happiness is my mission. And I know it takes, as we say in E-Women Network, it takes teamwork to make the dream work. So I know it's a long, fun road, and the more women who join me and caring adults who join, the better. And I just thought, like, and when I first started in business, actually, Candy, I wasn't working with kids. I was working with women. And I was at a coach, an event, a weekend, and everybody had a turn in the hot seat and had our turn to speak and share whatever. And the coach at the time, she's like, Aime, stop. You just lit up when you mentioned kids. Have you considered going to working with kids? And at that point, for my day job, I was working with children, and I thought, no, I need a break. Like, I work with them for 8 hours a day. I don't want to work with them,
right?
Evenings and weekends. And she sat there. She's like, no, like, think on that. And that's when the wheels really started turning. Of okay, let's do this. And then all the memories came back from the bullying and everything.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do in that moment? And I've had some of those kind of epiphanies myself. And so I know my journey through that, but I'm curious, what do you do when you're pretty clear, you're successful, you're helping these other women, you get told, stop. I'm going to hold a mirror up in front of you, show you what's really going on, and call the BS a little bit. What happens then when you do? Because all those triggers come back up. Because oftentimes, I tell people constantly, when you can't find your why, it's probably somewhere connected in that story that you're afraid to tell, that story that you've buried. We live our stories. God gave us our childhood so that we would someday step into our purpose. I so believe that. So what happens when all of that comes, like you get forced to stop, you're looking in the mirror, all the stories come back, the triggers come flooding with it, and then you have this aha. How do you pivot, and how do you deal with all of the snowball that starts rapidly coming downhill when that happens?
Yeah. Stop myself and take a breath. And then just one of my things I do quite well is actually writing content and writing programs and such. So the idea is, once I stopped and breathed for a moment and let the memories and the emotions come, I was able then to write, okay, what are those, those 9 things that I knew I needed, and how can I work that into a program and switch it. And I can remember too, Candy, I was at the big E-Women Network conference in Dallas 3-4 years ago now. And it was the last day. It was a Sunday morning, and we were sitting doing something at the table, and all of a sudden my why fell from the heavens and like landed, and I lost it at the table. Like I started
had that moment before.
Yeah, I just started crying, and my really good friend, she's an executive managing director in Cincinnati, Ohio, Aime Hutton, and Amy just looked over at me. I'm like, I just got my why. She's like, okay, breathe. Like, it's good. And that's where it kind of got to, oh wait, let's, switch a bit and work with women, because this big vision is going to take a lot of support and help.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the work you're doing. Talk about how you create this empowerment movement for tweens and teens, and what does it look like, and what does that space provide?
Yeah. So how I do it is there's 3 levels, 3 types of training, 3 levels. And the first one is kind of dipping your toe in, and all 3 modules or all 3 levels are done online also through this wonderful program now we all have called Zoom. And
which we are on right now.
Which is awesome. I still will use Skype if I have to, but I prefer Zoom. Anywho.
Amen.
Yeah. So it's uploaded content to a secret Facebook group. And every week is a different theme. For example, the 3-week program, it's the 3 pillars or the 3 core things with inch by inch empowerment, which is be brave, be bold, and be yourself. So the homework, the activities, the journaling are around those 3 themes. And then we do Zoom call in a group setting once a week and talk and discuss and, dive into the homework and check in with everybody. And then with the 6-week program, it's taking those 3 pillars and then adding 3 more. And these 6 pillars are actually based on the ebook I wrote for teen and tween girls about finding the jewels to being a wonder girl. And so it's those 6 pillars, again, with homework, with journal, in a secret group, that it is work at your own pace. However, I would love it if you can, at least look at the homework weekly and then be able to come into the group and, communicate and things. And then if women want to go like full in and really commit, what I have is actually a 6-month facilitator training program where it's taking the 6 pillars, but then adding other content. Like, I will dive into, let's really talk about healthy relationships and boundaries and media and social media and what women are portrayed in the media. And it's really cool because once all these modules are done, at the end, they have a package that they can break apart and do and teach to girls in their community as certified girls empowerment facilitators.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. That's really cool. I love that sort of a teach it forward model, right? And really being able to have them feel empowered to share that message out. And that's extremely powerful. I just love every aspect of that. And so how do you go about bringing people into this program? What are the ways that you let people know that this is going on? I mean, what are some of the things that you're doing to let people know that this is possible? Is this just in Calgary, or is this a global movement?
It's global because of our wonderful technology, the internet and Facebook and Zoom or Skype. It can be global. I've had interest. I have a connection in Kenya.
Oh, wow.
And she would love more information. And I have a connection also in Argentina, I think she is. And she's curious. So it can be global because it's uploaded content to a secret Facebook group weekly with either PDF or Word doc. I haven't decided which way it's going to go yet. And then, it's Zoom call and it's connection in Facebook. And I'm pretty sure how you and I met. Like, have we met in person yet?
No, I don't think so. We met through one group or another and have got introduced, and I feel like I've known you for years because we've been hanging out on various groups together for a really, 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 really long time.
I know, totally.
And I don't think we've ever been in physical space. I think we've missed each other a couple times for events, but because I think like either Colin stuff or E-Women or whatever, we've missed each other on a couple. But yeah, crazy because I feel like I've known you for a lifetime.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's how it's global. And I have been asked by a woman in Prince Edward Island, so on the east coast of Canada. Prince Edward Island is...
I always love when people say that because I have no clue, with the exception of like 3 things. Where's what in Canada? I'm horrible with geography, so I appreciate that you say that. I know a few things that are west, but couldn't tell you one from the other.
Yeah, so Prince Edward Island is it's the smallest province we have. It's an island, Prince Edward Island, and it's roughly around, I think it's Maine. Like
okay. Yes, I do know where that is.
That top northeast corner of the United States, over there. And where I am in Alberta, just side note, where I am in Alberta is above Montana.
Okay, yes. I was going to say because it's more west, because I know people from Vancouver go to Calgary and whatever often. So yes, I know that.
Yeah.
And I know Toronto's up from New York, and I know Montreal is somewhat up from like Wisconsin and some other things. So I get that only because I've been and had to travel from those places.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to this woman in Prince Edward Island. She wants me to come out and train an actual group of women, her organization, to work with girls, which is something else I do, by the way. I will come to groups of organizations or companies or whatever and train them in depth for 4 days. And it's like here it all is in 4 days. And then they can turn around and work with their own girls.
Nice.
So this woman in Prince Edward Island said, well, could you talk and teach to men? Could boys benefit? And I really had to stop and think. And out of the 11 modules that for the full facilitator program, out of the 11 modules, 9 of them could be either or, boys or girls. So that's what I said to her. I'm like, yes. And also with the stipulation of, for the groups in general, if I come to train them, is when I provide all the content for the 4 days, part of the agreement is they follow what I give them. Like, I'm handing you this training program and you do it, and you don't sidestep and, create your own thing. So men can take it. Organization wise, men could take it, as long as everybody promises to, because they're representing inch by inch empowerment, which is me, my brand.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, having those boundaries and having that line, I think a lot of people, sometimes they fear losing a sale or losing a client, or they'll say, sure, I can do it for everything, and you lose the integrity. So, deeply honor the fact that you have boundaries around what that integrity looks like. I know in training people to do what I do, it's the same thing. It's like, just because you pay to attend the class doesn't mean you actually get certified. You're going to go through a process of evaluation and auditing, because I have built this from a place of deep integrity, and that branding and that reputation is very powerful. And the space, that sacred space that's created, is something I'm not willing to compromise. And so I think it's really beautiful that you are very clear about where that boundary is.
Yeah, for sure. And that's for individual women who want to dive into the 6-month program. At the end of it, they actually facilitate their own event.
Oh, nice.
Be it with, 1 or 2 girls for an hour, and they critique it. If possible, I go to where they are and help mark or help critique and say, well, this was great, and then this could maybe do a bit of work, and, kind of similar to, I'm guessing, what you do as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the next big, if you were imagining the possibilities? We do a lot of times we talk about, so many people are in this what if space. It's the sky is falling and everything's so negative, and they get caught up in social media and all the crap that's going on. And yes, I don't play in the what if space. I like to shift that and say, okay, let's talk about imagine the possibilities. Imagine if. So for you on the horizon, what is the big imagine if for Aime and for the work that you're creating and for your next level?
One of with inch by inch empowerment, And the speaking I do, one of my big dreams is to actually speak on a stage here in Canada that's called We Day.
Mm.
And I don't know if you guys have it in the States.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, but We Day is a big event that happens across the country. And luckily, Alberta does have a day where they host. And they bring in speakers and entertainment. And it's held in stadiums.
Okay.
And it's for tweens and teens.
Right.
And they're hand selected from their schools to participate in this day. So I'm like, you're my people, and you're already pre-selected because you want to be there. You're leadership oriented, you're volunteer oriented, and so on and so forth. So for me to speak at B-Day on the stage in like the stadium, pick your stadium in where you live, where the football or hockey happens, and like that size is what it is.
Awesome.
That's one of my big goals. And another one is I've been, like example, my connections in Kenya or Argentina, they would love me to come and speak, and I would love to, yet, you know, I'm not able to make a living on gift cards and, you know, little thank yous.
Right.
I will come. One of my big goals is to be able to train and facilitate around the world and be paid what I'm worth. We're going to talk about money.
Absolutely. Hey, money is a big topic, and money, all money is a neutral space in exchange for what we do, right? And it's a way to honor the love and the passion and the way we pour our hearts in, and, people that pay attention. And there's a big difference to that. And there's all kinds of ways that you can pay, but we absolutely should be in a space where we are attracting and manifesting what we deserve, what we are valued. And so, because the more money we make, the more we can serve, the more we can put that message out there. So agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Because that's my big goal. And
I love it.
There's a possibility, it's not set in stone yet because I haven't gotten the full, yes, we actually want you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing coming in 2020 next summer for Girl Guides.
That's next year.
It is next year. There's an event happening in British Columbia, so one province over, so more above Seattle, Oregon, Washington. And there's a big camp happening, and roughly there would be 2,500 Girl Guides.
Okay.
From Canada, from United States, from other countries. And I've already reached out to them of, hey, do you need a motivational, inspirational speaker? And by the way, I am an ex-Girl Guide. And here's my story around Girl Guides and how it helped me save my life.
Wow.
And for me to share with them. So I'm in a waiting game right now with them. They're still in their planning stages. Mm-hmm. And my intention is to hear by just after our Thanksgiving, which is middle of October.
Right. Well, I will put great positive energy out there that is manifested and that comes to you.
Yeah.
That sounds like a wonderful space for you. So for sure, and you'll have to keep us posted.
Yeah,
Aime, so tell people though, because there's people that want to, and in fact, remind me when we're done, I have someone I want to connect you with already who's doing similar work for teens collectively, girls and boys, but there is a lot of synergy to what you do. So I do want to make sure. But for people that are really getting fired up about this conversation and want to either know more about how to support the work you're doing or how to get their kids involved in, this training, this opportunity, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, the best way to get a hold of me is my email, which is Aime, AIME, at inchbyinchempowerment.com. You can find me on Facebook. The fan page is Inch by Inch Empowerment. My personal page is Aime Hutton. And that's the best way I play is through email during the day and social media, Facebook, to be specific. During the day, email is best, or Facebook Messenger, because I do work full-time still currently. So I'm not really able to talk on the phone, yet I can take a minute and send a quick response to somebody.
Awesome. And you have a new program that's coming out, correct?
Yeah, it's just starting. And remember I spoke about the 3 different levels of training that women can take. So I've just launched level 1. So it's a girls leadership program, level 1, and it's for women who want to take that journey, that first step to work to empower girls in their community. And it's a 3-week program. It just started, and the investment for that is $197 Canadian. So really, your friends and listeners here in the United States, you want to take advantage of that because the dollar is very different.
Is that right?
Canadian and American. So it's $197 Canadian. I do accept payment plan. Payment plan will be $225 Canadian, split 3. And just come and join. I'm so excited, and it's going to be a great 3 weeks. I can feel it already that the women in the program are engaged. They want to, well, how can I help the girls in my community or my girls in the Girl Scout group or Girl Guide group coming in September, because everything's pretty much shut down now for Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. How can I work with my girls better, more efficiently, more empowerment led come September? Right. So if they want to just dip their toe in and start the process, we've just started this girls leadership training level 1. If they want to do that, cool. But if they really want to say, no, Amy, give me the full 6 months, I will do that too. Awesome. So that one is more of a discussion and interview process to come into that program. But yeah, I'm so excited, and let's rock that.
Awesome. I love that. And so for anyone listening, if that is something you're interested in learning more about, we will have all of the information that Aime shared below in the show notes. You can go out, you can connect with her via email. I know she is extremely active on social media, so you can go out and see exactly what she's got going on in the amazing work. And so definitely check out what Amy's got going on and get involved, and just amazing things in that space. And so Aime, I'm curious, as we are bringing things kind of to a close, do you have any last aha or juicy nugget you'd like to share with this audience?
Oh, well, it's this just kind of like, oh, it's June and it's Pride Month for the LGBT community.
Yes, it is.
And, yeah. And I just want to say, be okay with being yourself, celebrate being yourself. And that's a whole other story, Candy, we can have for another day.
Absolutely.
My journey of realizing who I am in my core. So yeah, just be yourself, be okay with being yourself, celebrate it. And there are resources out there for the LGBT community. If you need it, just reach out, because there's people who will help.
Absolutely. And there's more and more education and awareness that's happening in that space. And, regardless of LGBT community, regardless of, religious community, regardless of any space you play in, or any space that you feel deeply connected in, and that's your home, know that it always starts with you saying yes to yourself. And if anything, Amy's been such a beautiful example in our conversation today about how to truly say yes to yourself and destroy the noise that's getting in the way. And the noise could be that bullying, it could be that teasing, it could be the comments that are unnecessary, it could be a lot of people's opinions and judgments that are outside of you. Regardless of what it is, you are the person that ultimately can empower yourself. And as you know, yes is all about you empowered strong, and it is your opportunity to stand in a space to say yes to yourself first, so that you can step up and be the leader you were destined to be. With that, this is Candy. Thank you all for joining me. Aime, thank you so much for being on this show. It was such an honor and delight to have you here. So glad we could finally do this. And for all of you listening, thank you as always for tuning in. You are the reason that we show up every week to engage in these thoughtful and deep conversations with conscious thought leaders who are out there changing the world. I hope you find value and nuggets every week as we engage in these conversations. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so that you don't miss any of the upcoming interviews. We've got so much in store for you. With that, I am your host, Candy Barone. Thank you for tuning into the Powerhouse Podcast. We will catch up with you next week. for now, know that I'm sending you heart to heart hugs, and I love all of you. Thanks, everyone.